An election has just been cancelled because it's impossible to decrypt the results. But what makes this funny is that experts in encryption were the ones running the election. Also in your hacking news roundup, TP-Link sues Netgear and how an MP3 is helping to destroy hypersonic missiles. But first, the world's most renowned cryptologists can't decrypt their own election. These guys publish journals, run events, all in the aim of furthering research in cryptology, hence the name. These guys are important for enabling the research of encryption, which, among other things, quietly stops the internet from falling apart. Since their formation in 1982, they've managed to remain free of drama and controversy until now. Every year they run an election to decide who gets to be on their board of directors. Being experts in their field, they use a very cool encrypted voting platform. Helios makes it easy to run your own election. It's free and open source, putting privacy and security first. But no matter how you run an election, at some point you still have to trust someone to access and read the results. Instead of relying on just one person, Helios divides the decryption key among multiple trustees, with all of their keys needed to decrypt the results. The organization decided that 2 trustees just aren't enough because they could collude to steal the election, so instead they used 3. Their 2025 election has just ended, and after a whole month of voting and no doubt fierce campaigning between the candidates, they've encountered a fatal technical problem, an oopsie. Whilst 2 trustees have provided their keys, the third guy has not. This cryptologist has lost his decryption key, apparently, making it totally impossible to access the results, giving this all the irony of a fire station burning down, which actually happened recently in Germany. It was brand new, but burnt to a crisp because they thought that a fire alarm system wasn't necessary in a building full of firefighters. Similar story here. Whilst the voting system was cryptographically secure, as evidenced by the fact that they can't access the results, so caught up in the details, they missed something that someone half as intelligent would have spotted, inadvertently designing an election which could be sabotaged by a single person. However, the organisation is confident that this is an honest but unfortunate human mistake, with the trustee who accidentally lost his key now having resigned. At this point, they don't have much choice but to completely rerun the election, now having changed the rules so only 2 out of the 3 keys are needed to decrypt the results, which kind of undermines their concern of 2 trustees possibly colluding. Perhaps a system of 5 keys where only 3 of them are needed would let them have their cake and eat it too. But anyway, whilst today's sponsor can't bake you a cake, they can help you get your personal data deleted. Ever Googled yourself out of boredom, only to find your name, address, phone number, and other assorted personal details up for sale on some sketchy people search site? Welcome to the world of data brokers. These bottom feeders scrape all kinds of sources for your personal information, slowly building a profile on you before selling it off to anyone willing to pay. All totally legal, by the way. But the good news is, DeleteMe can help you fight back. Just complete a quick profile so DeleteMe knows what to look for, then they'll scan hundreds of data brokers and within 7 days compile a personalized report. But most importantly, they'll request removal of the data on your behalf. And so long as you're a member, DeleteMe will keep checking in on data brokers, creating regular reports, and automatically removing your data. And in the unlikely scenario you find your personal data on a sneaky site that DeleteMe can't by default remove it from, not to worry. Just shoot off a custom request to your personal privacy advisor, an actual real human by the way, who will make it their mission to have your data wiped. So take back control of your data today with DeleteMe, who are giving you guys 20% off their eligible plans with my link in the description. DeleteMe is also international, serving multiple countries. Just make sure to click the correct link in the description to take back control of your data today. Next up,
begun. The
router
war has.
So TP-Link is suing Netgear. The lawsuit alleges that Netgear has been operating a smear campaign to falsely cast TP-Link as having been infiltrated by the Chinese government, which is totally baseless. Well, according to TP-Link. More widely, this whole debate has been going on for a while now, getting to the point where it's an existential problem for TP-Link. A ban on the sale of their hardware is now a real possibility, with multiple US federal departments backing the idea. And Netgear has to some extent been fanning the flames, allegedly. The lawsuit claims that Netgear used influencers to propagate its false messages, but stops short of mentioning exactly who. Also alleged is that Netgear spent hundreds of thousands of dollars lobbying politicians on the topic of competition with China and cybersecurity. On the China question, TP-Link was founded in China 30 years ago, but their American operations are done under a different company now, which they say functions as a standalone entity, totally separate. However, that hasn't unstuck accusations that the Chinese government is somehow secretly in control. Netgear's CEO refers to TP-Link as a national security risk, a falsehood, according to the lawsuit. He also referenced a Microsoft blog post which he says exposed TP-Link's role in typhoons that the US is facing, typhoon here being a term used to refer to Chinese hackers. The Microsoft blog post reveals that Chinese state hackers did indeed exploit a vulnerability in TP-Link devices to create a botnet, but Microsoft didn't suggest that TP-Link backdoored their devices on purpose, or that TP-Link enabled this in any way. And whilst there are several cases of TP-Link routers being exploited and used by Chinese government hackers, on the flip side, there are also several high-profile cases of Netgear routers also having been hacked into and used by the Chinese, despite Netgear being an American company. TP-Link really feels like they're being unfairly singled out here, and given the company has a 60% share of home and small business routers in the US, a potential ban on their hardware would really shake up the market, something that Netgear would, objectively speaking, stands to benefit from, and they're preparing for it. Netgear's CEO said that they're already looking at investing in their supply in anticipation of a potential ban. When you're a network equipment manufacturer, the accusation that you're backdoored by the Chinese government is about as bad as being called a witch in 16th century England, as Huawei found out the hard way. Whether TP-Link executives are secretly taking orders from the Chinese government, I can't pretend to know. However, in terms of real publicly available information, I couldn't find any evidence that TP-Link devices are overrepresented in terms of vulnerabilities, and if you consult the cybersecurity hive mind, you won't find much concern about TP-Link being less secure than other brands. If anything, the general consensus is that they're cheap and reliable. So there's not much reason to bin your TP-Link router, but if you don't want to take any risks, maybe take a look at flashing it with open source firmware. Next up, how an MP3 is helping to destroy hypersonic missiles. Meet the KH-47M2 Kinzhal ballistic missile. It was described as invincible back when it was introduced in 2018. Travelling at speeds of over Mach 10, they've been raining down on Ukraine since the start of the war. Patriot missile systems provided by the US have had some luck in shooting them down, but Ukraine is short on ammunition for these things, which isn't helped by the fact that a single Patriot missile costs more than $4 million. On top of that, there's recent reports that Russia has modified these things so that they follow a more unpredictable flight path, making intercepting them way more difficult, reducing Ukraine's interception rate from 37% to just 6% in a matter of weeks. However, a different approach to downing these things has had some success, apparently. This comes from 404 Media, who spoke to a member of Nightwatch, a Ukrainian electronic warfare team. He explains that these things use GLONASS in order to navigate. It's like GPS, but Russian, and you can actually see on a downed missile these little ceramic tiles. These are the antennas, and if they look familiar, they're pretty similar to GPS antennas used in hobbyist electronics, but the missile uses up to 16 of them in an attempt to counteract jamming, which typically works by spamming random noise in order to overpower the signal coming from the 24 GLONASS satellites. But according to Nightwatch, the Ukrainian company Lima makes an electronic warfare system that takes a different approach. Instead of just random noise, an MP3 works just as well, so they've been using a song about a Ukrainian nationalist instead. So Bandera is a slightly controversial individual who, during World War II, was at one point allied with a certain mid-century German fella that I'll most definitely get demonetized for talking about. Russian media sometimes uses the very existence of this guy as justification for modern-day Ukraine being riddled with mid-century German sympathizers. So Nightwatch thought it would be hilarious to use a song about him ironically poking fun at the Russians. But in some sense, I guess that does play into the Russian position, but I hope that makes sense. After the song hits, the Lima system exploits the fact that GLONASS is open and unauthenticated, so it spoofs a signal, making the missile think it's in Lima, Peru. Naturally, the missile isn't too happy about this and tries to suddenly change direction. But when you're travelling at Mach 5, this doesn't work very well, with the stress of the sudden change of direction ripping the missile apart, and it just falls to the ground where it can be torn apart and analysed. Nightwatch claims they've managed to down 19 missiles in the past couple weeks using this technique, but this of course comes with the usual caveats that these kinds of numbers are of course impossible to verify. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one.